Hey, Dr. She Rich here. I am so excited about this episode that you are about to see on Surviving with She Rich. It's actually episode number 5, guys, number 5, and it is called Rebound. And it is the story of my husband, Joe Richardson, and how he came back. He made a comeback. He bounced back from childhood abandonment, from cancer, from losing a child, to be able to give back to his community. And so this story really is a testament. It's a miracle story that exemplifies the fact that what the enemy meant for evil, God can truly turn around for our good and for his glory. And so if it blesses you as you watch it, the only thing I ask you, please share it, especially if you know that it can bless somebody else. That is the purpose, and that is the reason why I do what I do and I bring the content that I bring. So I hope you enjoy it, and I pray that it blesses you as much as it blessed me. Take care. Welcome to Surviving with She Rich, the podcast where we help those silenced by trauma regain their voice. I'm your host, Dr. Sherry Richardson. Join my guests and me as we share inspiring stories of resilience and practical steps toward healing within a supportive community. Thank you for tuning in, and let's get started on this empowering journey from trauma to triumph, surviving to thriving, one story at a time. Well, Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to Surviving with She Rich. This is episode 5 that you are viewing, and I'm so excited because it's the first one of the 2025 year. I could not think of a better way to start this one off than with who I call the most amazing man on the planet. He is my life partner, my best friend, my encourager, my sounding board. He is everything I need. So let's take a moment as we enter into 2025, episode 5 of Surviving with She Rich. I welcome my wonderful husband, Joe Richardson.
Thank you. Thank
Hey,
you for
handsome.
having me. Hey, beautiful. How are you?
I am well,
To the
thank
most
you.
amazing woman in the whole wide world.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So remember, to all of my guests who continue to walk with me, and even those of you who might be new, my podcast, Surviving with She Rich, is a platform by which I have guests come on and they actually share their stories, their testimonies of challenging and difficult situations that they face that may have silenced them. And so this podcast purpose is to let those who have been silenced by trauma actually regain their voices. And hopefully and prayerfully, their stories will be shared and can help somebody else. So before we even get started, I want to say thank you to you, babe. And yes, I'm going to call you babe on there. This is,
Cool.
I can and I will.
I am a baby, so
Yes, you are. I just want to say thank you because when I referenced the first 2 episodes, for those of you who may not have tuned in already, in my first 2 episodes, I actually shared my story. And one of the things I talked about were the people who were instrumental in helping me to rebound and come back from those challenges and of my childhood trauma. And I mentioned you, and I said that you were one of the instrumental people in helping me to heal. God really used you. So before I even start with who Joe Richardson is, I just want to say thank you to you for just being that to me.
thank you. It's my absolute pleasure, and God knew what we both needed.
Yes.
And so I'm just so thankful and grateful to God for allowing us to walk in the promise, walk in a beautiful, thriving, and fulfilling marriage. And I'm just so excited.
Awesome. Thank you. So those who are tuning in, this is their first time probably seeing you on my podcast. So who is Joe Richardson? Like, give you said, like that's a heavy question, y'all.
No, I would define myself as complicated but simple
Okay.
man. And over the years, God has really been able to do some amazing things in me and through me, which wasn't always my story.
Okay.
I am a product of childhood trauma, which came in the form of childhood abandonment,
Okay.
and I dealt with that for many, well, actually decades before God really showed me what the root of my issues were.
Okay.
And so, out of that childhood abandonment formed many tentacles that kind of directed a lot of my life in my younger age, and as well as going into an adult. And some of those things were people pleasing, approval addiction, and it really silenced my voice. I felt that if my own parents gave me away at the age of 2, then I didn't feel loved, and didn't think I was worthy of loving or being loved. And so what I ended up doing, I was always good at sports from a very young age, probably like 6 years old.
Wow.
So I just jumped right into sports. And God used that to be my saving grace because through sports, I was affirmed, I was seen, I felt a part of something. It just was a space that really made me feel whole and complete. So he used that to just really to keep me.
Got it.
And I thank him for several rams in the bush, during that season of my life. First and foremost, my great-great-grandparents who were the ones that my parents gave me to. And they were older,
Right.
but they were amazing. And I thank God for that. And then another gentleman who first noticed me, playing baseball. And even though I was not the age to participate in the league, he had me practicing with the team. I was the bat boy, but he saw something special in me. And so it was throughout my life there were various men who God used just to really encourage me and affirm me and help me to feel, what I was missing, that void.
That's good. That's good. And I definitely understand that because sports was one of the things that actually kept me. That was one of the outlets that I used when I was going through, trauma in my youth, and actually my youth and my teenage years. And so I definitely can relate when you say that outlet. It was your saving grace. It was what kept you, made you feel confident and, complete and whole and, and that you were valued.
Yes.
So I definitely get that. You have a decorated career as well, from what I understand, sir.
Well, again, I thank God just for keeping me on track, even though at times I didn't know he was keeping me on track, like a lot of us, who deal with, issues and traumas.
Right.
We just don't really see God's hand in it until much later on in life, when maturity comes and things like that, we begin to understand his word for what it really is. But my career, 6 days out of high school, I was in the Marines.
Wow. Ooh, that's young.
I was a good student, AB student. Didn't really have a thought process of going to college, but I just knew I didn't want to just stick around and hang out on the corner.
Right.
So I went in the Marines. After that, service, I came back. I was in corrections for a while and then went into law enforcement as a police officer.
Okay.
And had a distinguished career as a police officer. And so I've been blessed. I've really been blessed.
Wonderful, wonderful. And you've been blessed to be a blessing as well because, for me, I love that I have, law enforcement officer, he keeps me covered. I feel safe.
No
Good.
doubt.
Thank you. So one of the things that, or one purpose of this particular podcast, this platform that I utilize, is just so that people can be encouraged by the stories of life. And you talked about the abandonment that you dealt with from both of your parents. Was there a point in time where you were able to maybe regain or have a relationship with them? I don't know how distant or how close, but how did you actually manage that, especially in your adulthood? Because what I realize is a lot of times because I dealt with abandonment as well, it carries way into your adulthood. And so we learn coping mechanisms to navigate those relationships that we desire but may not always have the way we want them. So, what were some of the things that you did or had to put into place to be able to navigate and somewhat restore a healthy relationship with your dad and your mom?
Well, my mom and dad, they were always around. They were in the same city.
Okay.
I would see them from time to time. Really not spend a lot of time with them. Actually, I really don't remember spending much time with them at all until maybe high school, my high school years with my dad, off and on. But it was very difficult. I can't remember. I played multiple sports growing up. And I honestly cannot say that I remember if my dad ever came to a game or my mom. Again, my great grandmother, she was up in age, but she would come, every now and then.
Right, as
But
she
I,
could.
but I don't remember my dad and or my mom. You know, later on, I went into coaching in the league that they had. I coached 10 to 12-year-old kids. And one of the things that I really felt and saw was that kids perform better when they look out there and they see, their mother or father or somebody supporting them.
Right.
It gives them a confidence. And so I always made that a part of my coaching, to be that example and also remember those who were playing who maybe did not have support, just to be that extra support, for them. But going back to my mom and dad, again, lived in the same city, really didn't see them much. I remember a couple times my dad would call and say, tell my grandma he was going to come and pick me up. Then I would sit out on the porch for several hours. Every car come by, I'm looking, hoping it was him. And then my grandmother, she would say, come on in, he's not coming, as it got later and later.
Right.
So that was really heartbreaking. It did a lot of damage, but I internalized a lot of it. I grew up thinking I didn't need anybody for anything. And, it was just very difficult. But again, I had sports, so I could just let it all out in a healthy way with sports.
Right. Let me ask this. I'm going to fast forward a little bit because you are the father of 3 biological children, 2 of which, are with us. One is not, and we'll discuss that in a bit. But as a parent, having your own children, how did you navigate that, because a lot of we see two different things that sometimes may happen. Either the pattern continues and the father who was abandoned becomes an absent father and is, and not involved, or the opposite. You see a father who's overly involved, overcompensates, makes sure that, he's there and, even though not perfect, makes sure and is intentional about support. So how did you shift and navigate once you actually had children?
Well, let me just say that trauma can have you making vows that you do not understand at the time that you make them. I can remember, based off the pain that I felt being abandoned as a child, that if I ever had children and ever was married, that I would stay in their life until they were of an adult age.
Okay.
And I believe I made that vow when I was probably about 13 years old.
Wow.
But it was just something that, again, I had experienced, and I didn't want to put that hurt on a child that, I had. And so, again, sometimes we make vows and promises out of pain, not really understanding what we're doing at the time.
Right.
I really didn't have my father to father me. So I was caught with, my first child, which was a boy. I was a first-time dad, so I basically had to navigate, on my own.
Right.
Did a lot of things wrong. So much so that as I matured and as he got older, I had to, apologize to him for some things, which was very tough for me. But it's a part of, maturing, growing, and letting your child know that you did everything in love, but it doesn't mean that you did everything right.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
he saw that human side of me. He saw that I wasn't perfect, and it allowed us to get closer.
Good. Very good.
My daughter, you were the second child. They have it easier. So,
Listen, my three would say the same thing. My oldest, because I have three, she would say the same thing. Oh, I was the guinea pig.
yeah. So
They had it easier
she
than
had
me.
it a lot easier. Based on some changes that I made based off of how I dealt with my son during the first time. And so again, as I think about it, I'm just very apologetic to him that I did not steward that season in the way I should have. So we have a great relationship, and so I take every opportunity that I can to steward him well, in his adult years.
Right.
So,
But your daughter, you said, had it so much easier.
she had it so much. She just really don't know. She really
Oh, she knows.
Oh, she really don't.
She don't know.
She really don't.
So you feel like you got a lot of things, more things right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Again, I had matured. I had learned. That childhood abandonment, again, one of the tentacles is I formed this hardness about myself. I wouldn't let people get close to me. I wouldn't share my true feelings. I silenced my voice. I shut down in a lot of areas. I wasn't very nurturing because again, that was something that was not modeled to me from my father.
Right.
And so I acted like what I saw, which pretty much was to be robotic and, not show emotions. And, for a large part of my son's life, that's how it was.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm glad you guys had the opportunity. I think one thing that you said that was so key and so important was once you realized where you went wrong and how it affected him, you had no problem going back and apologizing. And I think as parents, oftentimes, that's one thing we don't feel we need to do for our children or to our children is apologize. And it goes such a long way in their healing and them being able to get over the trauma that we may have imposed in their lives. And again, not purposefully. We didn't it wasn't intentionally to harm them, but in our immaturity or in, you know, our just ignorance, our lack of knowing, we do the same thing to our kids in at some time. So I think that's powerful when you said, when he got older, I had to go back and apologize and to see, because I see how you guys are. I see the closest, I see the interactions. It's a beautiful thing. But to know that those steps that you took and being able to go back to be a part of that healing process mended you guys in a way that you're able now to enjoy and make memories and other things that are more positive versus maybe some of the things that happened when he was younger. So I think that is awesome and important.
It was a difficult process for me. First of all, as a man, just to admit that I was wrong. Like you said, a lot of times we don't think that we should apologize to our kids for things, which is not the truth.
It isn't.
Wrong is wrong, regardless. But it was hard for me because I had that mindset. He's a child. I don't have to apologize to him. It took me a while to get over myself in that mindset. And just really think about it, how I had stewarded him. And so again, I had some moments. I had some heavy moments of hurt, of tears, as God dealt with me with going back and correcting that. But I accepted it.
Right.
And went back and again, part of it was for me, but the major part was for him. Because it was my wish that if he ever have children, that the apology and love that I was showing him from that point forward would allow him to love his children in a better way than I loved him. So,
And I heard you mentioned this twice. You mentioned the word stewardship, being able to steward that era of time, that period of time, that responsibility. And, I just want to share to those of who are watching, to the audience, like we need to remember that everything we are, everything we have, everything we do, we are stewarding something that belongs to somebody else. Our children, although we've been blessed with them, belong to God. And so just like any other person, we talk about this in our relationship, that we have to be mindful how we love each other, how we deal with one another, because it's stewardship. You are a gift to me. I am a gift to you. Our children are gifts to us. And so those of you who are watching, be mindful of how you deal with your children, because truth be told, they belong to God. He's entrusting what belongs to him to you. And so he does require that we handle them well, that we steward them well, that we take care of his belonging. And so the fact that you mentioned that twice, I really wanted to kind of hone in on that so that people really, really understand, like, we have to steward all of our relationships, all of them, regardless of what it is, parent-child, husband-wife, partner, friendships, like work relationships. We have to steward well because we're responsible.
That's correct.
God has given us a mandate to love. He's given us, a mandate to represent him well. And so this is one of the ways that he really uses us in that capacity. So I thank you for bringing up that point, but I really wanted to hone in on it because I thought it was such a key component that you shared. So,
And at the end, it's about producing good fruit, And so, again, how we steward can either produce positive fruit or negative fruit. And then that's in every situation that you talked about, relationally, with children, with co-workers, with friends. So how we steward really can set a tone for the type of fruit, the type of example that we are to people. So it's very important.
that's good. That's good. Stewardship.
You stuck on that
I'm
right there.
it's yes, because we talked about it in the parent child form, but I think about us, in our relationship and the ways in which God has allowed us to really encourage one another. We were both in some low states when we met each other, coming out of long-term relationships where that were mishandled on both sides, but like you said, God knew what we needed. And, I think about, the many gifts that we've shared and things that we have done and been to each other. And if you can think,
Oh boy.
what is a gift that I have given you that you've really like cherished, or that has been like a memorable, and I know that there are many, so I'm probably making you really, really think right now,
No,
but
you're not. Because the first one is my heart. I had closed my heart off to anything and everyone because of the pain I felt as a child. And with you and doing hard work, I was able to free myself up, free my mind up, do work on myself to where I was in a healthy place to receive the beauty of you. And so, I would say that my heart, my ability to love, and God is so amazing because, again, I felt unloved by my parents. I felt I wasn't worthy of love. I didn't want to let people get close to me because I didn't want to show that affection to them. But even with that, God did not take away the ability to love. And so, I love on steroids now, with you, like, I really do. It is such an honor to just let God's love flow each and every day, and I get the opportunity to share it with an amazing woman who I love with all my heart, and that is you. So thank you. Yes, God knew what we needed, and
thank you,
who you're
babe.
connected to really does matter.
It does.
Really does
Yes,
matter.
it does. Yes, it does. And I thank you for being able to properly take care of my heart. Coming from the background that I come from, the childhood abuse and the abandonment issues also, and the many, many tentacles that you go through, the decisions that you make. I was not in the greatest of a place. I had walls up also, based on the hurt, based on the pain, but you were so consistent and patient with me in that process, and that God really used that to help me get to the place where I am. So thank you. It has been a pleasure giving you the gift of my heart, because you know, again, how to steward it well. You know how to take care of that.
Thank you.
Is there any other gifts that you think about
That you give me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. The fun of joy. Like
Okay.
I'm again, for people who knew me back then and know me now, they know that a transformation has taken place that only God could do. Again, I used to walk around with this hardened exterior. I used to carry a look physically on my face, which was intimidating to a lot of people, would keep a lot of people away from me, which is what I wanted. Um, but when God was showing me myself,
Right.
He showed me that when I want to get things done, I do things through people. And
Yes, he does.
because of the hardened exterior look that I thought was protection, I really could have possibly been blocking blessings that he was sending my way through other people.
That's good. That's good. So how many might you have missed through
Yes,
the years
yes.
because of that hardened? Wow, that's good.
Which was caused by my pain and trauma.
Absolutely.
We put up walls.
Right.
We try to self-remedy ourselves, different things, different behaviors. But I'm just thankful. I'm just thankful again that through all of that, that God still gave me the ability to love and never
Right.
lose that, even though I felt that I never had that. Not really recognizing at that time that I had His love. And so,
It's always there.
when you tap into God's love, it could take you to some beautiful places.
Awesome. I think about something you said, and you talked about tapping into God's love. He had to have transformed you and your heart in a major way for you to get from there with the hardness and not letting people close to you to the point where you love overwhelmingly. I tell you all the time, so you're not perfect, but you love me perfectly. And you went through several years of a difficult time with a physical battle that I know you shared with me that transformed you, and God used that to transform you. So why don't you share a little bit with the audience, like your cancer battle?
Well, there was a couple of things. First, I was, going through a divorce. And then shortly after that, let me go back. I'm actually a two-time cancer survivor. In 2011, I was diagnosed with stage 1 prostate cancer, in which I was, fully healed from, cured from. My father, he passed away from cancer. Started out as prostate cancer, ended up metastasizing and, in his brain, and it had spread through his bones and everything. But it was through his battle that I became proactive. That I
Right.
learned the importance of screenings and early detections. And so that was one of the reasons why they were able to catch my prostate cancer at stage 1. In 2015, started having these stomach issues. Stomach just always felt full. I couldn't eat. I had to always just run to the bathroom. I had these severe night sweats to where sometimes I would have to change my undershirt 3 or 4 times a night,
Wow.
soaking wet. Um, but me as a man, still wouldn't go to the doctors. And so kept going, and I started losing weight real rapidly. I think I lost close to 40 pounds in about a month.
Wow.
I've always been physically fit. I've always been an athlete. And so that was drastic. And
Right.
ended up going to the doctors, and they scheduled me for a colonoscopy. Results came back that I had what was called stage 4 double hit lymphoma cancer, which is a very rare and aggressive form of cancer. I was then advised that I needed to have emergency surgery because I had a bowel blockage. And so me and my mom, we were at the doctor's office and getting the results, and the nurse said to him, said to me, "Is anybody here with you?" I said, "Yeah, my mom is." And she said, "Have her take you home and get you some clothes because you're going to be admitted tonight and you're going to have emergency surgery tomorrow." And so I had to have emergency surgery. Had to have a colostomy bag during my process, and but God's hand was in it all the time, because I ended up going to Fox Chase Cancer Center, and it was one of the doctors that was treating me who knew the head doctor in that department at Fox Chase.
Wow.
And he got me in. And by this time, I was so weak. I was showing signs of deteriorating fast. And when I went for that initial visit, they had to take me in a wheelchair. I just was so weak. And the doctor, I'll never forget, that doctor looked at me and he said, typically somebody with the rare and aggressive form of cancer that you have, and at the stage it was, stage 4, he said, we don't usually treat. We just ask them what kind of comfort meds do they want. But then he said, but I looked at your scans, and he said, you look athletic, seems like you took care of your body, and so I'll be able to tell you after the first round of chemo if this is going to work. And I was very encouraged by that. And so I had to go through, some serious stuff as it relates to my treatments.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, obviously, we see the miracle that God performed with the health component of that, because you went through your chemo, you went through your regimes, you had a stem cell transplant, but it wasn't just a physical transformation that was taking place.
Right.
God did some spiritual things as well.
No doubt. My regimen was that I had to be admitted into the hospital for 5 days, and during that 5-day period, I had a IV bag, which was chemo, and the chemo ran for 24 straight hours. Once it was done, they took the bag down, put another one up. So for 5 straight days, while I was admitted in the hospital, it was chemo 24 hours a day. Again, it was a rare and aggressive form of cancer, so they had to, attack it aggressively. Then I would come home for 15 days and have to go back for another 5 days. And those are called cycles. And so I had to, after the 3rd cycle, they, did another scan and they saw that it was in remission. And so I had to keep, that regimen going for another 3 cycles. Then after that, I had to go through testing for stem cell transplant. I thank God that I was able to use my own stem cells. Many people do not or are not able to, and then they have to be on medications, the rest of their life for that. But I was so thankful for that. I went through that. It was intense. I still had the colostomy bag, but they were able, once I was cancer-free and the stem cell and everything worked, they were able to, reverse that.
Praise God.
But it was one particular day. I was in my apartment, and this was during the time when I was sick. And, I looked in the mirror, and this was during the time when I had, lost all of that weight so rapidly. And I literally saw death, when I looked in that mirror. And I looked in that mirror and I said to God, God, I know what I see physically. I said, and if it's your will that it's my time, I've had a blessed life. And right then, I had an encounter with him. I just remember getting up off the floor, and I just was changed. I was changed in my mindset, in my heart. But there were other things that I had been praying for as well. Um, again, I was in a long-term marriage that ended in divorce. And I just really should ask God to just show me. Show me me. And he showed me, he showed me me. Um, but what it was is he took me all the way back to the root of the problem.
Mm.
And so things that I was trying to mask, things I was trying to um, self, I'm gonna say self-medicate, but
Right.
self-prescribe for myself as healing.
Mm-hmm.
It was just surface stuff because I never went to the root of the problem because I never understood what the root of the problem was. And he showed me that the root of that problem was my childhood abandonment that I had never dealt with. And so out of that, I made so many choices, so many decisions out of pain. And again, it had left me with a black heart. And so part of that healing, part of that journey, part of that transformation was first to get my heart clean. And so once he did that, that allowed me to take down the walls, that allowed me to know and believe that I was worthy of being loved and loving. And so it just was an amazing transformation all around. And I am not where I want to be because I'm always striving to be better as a husband, as a father, as a son, as a friend. But God has done some amazing things, and I'm so thankful and so blessed.
Awesome. Awesome. And you take time to pay that forward. I know I'm sitting here looking at your sweatshirt. Yes, Capital City Cancer Classic. NJ,
There you go.
yes, NJ.
Representing Jersey.
For the moment.
Yes, true.
Okay, so what is that? Where did that come from? Because that was birthed out of a difficult situation.
Yeah.
So
That was birthed out of my two battles with cancer. Actually, I was a high school assistant basketball coach. Both times I had cancer. I was always the athlete, as I mentioned. And so God just gave me the vision of putting together what I loved and enjoyed, which was sports, and also my survival of cancer. And so came up with the name of Capital City Cancer Classic, New Jersey, nonprofit, cancer organization. And it was formed in 2019.
okay.
We've had some amazing events and been able to bless so many.
Yes.
One of the things that we do is we donate to a reputable cancer organization yearly, as well as provide scholarships for high school students and then support a local family that's dealing with cancer.
Right. And just to let you guys know, we call it CCCC and J, just for short, but Capital City Cancer Classic, although we are going into year 6, the pandemic kind of threw us off a little bit. So it's almost like we're celebrating five strong years. And so February 1st, 12 o'clock at Robbinsville, I know we have an event that's coming up, our annual basketball showcase. And just to let you guys know, this will be the 5th year that we host this event. We have been able to donate upwards of $23,000 to reputable cancer organizations. We have donated close to $12,000 in scholarships to high school seniors who are pursuing post-secondary educational opportunities, and even the families. We've touched so many. So it's an exciting time. And so I wanted to put that out during this podcast because I wanted the audience and the viewers to not just see and hear your story and how God brought you through, but also what you're doing with that, the way that you give back to the community as a result of. And so often when we deal with trauma and issues, not only does it silence us, it stagnates us. But you said, nope, I'm going to take what the enemy meant for evil, turn that thing around, and do something that I'm able to give back, to the community. So February 1st, it's a Saturday. We are hosting number 5.
Yes.
Number 5.
Yes.
And so that's an exciting thing. And I wanted to use my platform to be able to kind of push that so people know not only is this a miracle sitting next to me, but he's an encourager. He is he has such a heart, Joe. You have such a heart for people.
Thank you.
The brothers that you reach out to every month, our children benefit so much from you. Our marriage benefits so much. There's couples that we minister to and that we encourage, and through our couples ministry. And so God kept you for a reason. He kept you for a reason. And so many people, I know I'm a first fruits. I benefit probably the most in this season, but I'm just grateful. I'm thankful that you fought, that you endured, that you took care of your body. I think that is something I want to highlight. When a lot of times when people go through that regime of chemotherapy, their body, their organs
Yes.
aren't able to handle, that level of the potency of that medication. And so the fact that you said you did not abuse your body, you were a Marine, you were law enforcement, you worked out, you kept yourself, you stewarded well.
Yes. Yes.
Because it goes back to that stewardship. You stewarded your body well. And God was able to honor that because he knew you were going to go through this fight, this battle. And so the fact that your body was able to withstand, he kept you and continues to use you. And so I'm grateful. I'm so thankful. I'm so honored. I'm honored to be your wife. I'm honored to have you on this episode with me. But I'm just thankful. I'm thankful to God that what he has done spiritually in your life, physically, emotionally, and mentally, relationally,
Yes.
just blessed. And it's awesome to see.
One thing I know you mentioned, earlier about 3 children.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
I dealt with the death of a daughter. She was stillborn, 8 months. And I never dealt with that. I never grieved that. Like a lot of my life, early on, I just put up walls and kept being robotic and moving forward without really dealing with the pain that I was dealing with. And still today, especially around Christmas time, I just have these intense moments of grief and hurt. And grief is something that can affect you in ways that you really can't comprehend.
Right.
And I remember, the church that, we attend, they had a class on grief, and I attended that, and that was another part of, my breakthrough, my transformation was recognizing not only that grief, but other things that I didn't really grieve. You know, with my great-great-grandmother, who was the love of my life at that time when she passed, I didn't grieve that. I just, okay, on to the next thing. That robotic me showed
Right.
up and kept things moving, kept everybody going. So I had a whole, I had a life of just so much on me that I never grieved. And again, once I just totally surrendered to God and gave everything to Him for real, and got out of my own way, He was able to just allow me to exhale and really begin to live life in ways I never imagined.
That's awesome.
But I just wanted to say that if you're dealing with grief, find you a good grief class, a good grief counselor. Take counseling if you have to,
Right.
but be very intentional about your healing. Because again, God is either you are stewarding things or He will put you in positions to steward things, and you can't steward well if you're not well.
That's good. That's good. And I was going to ask you, if you had any final words or final thoughts, and that's a good one as it relates to your personal, emotional, and mental health, because it does impact everything else, that we do. And I think that's difficult for men. So I thank you for sharing that, and I thank you for saying that, because it's a sign of strength when you're able to be intentional
Yes.
about being healthy. And then God can use you in so many ways than if you were broken. So,
And I think about some of the major jobs I had being in the military, seeing death, seeing tragic situations, and having to block it out to keep the mission going, to move forward. Being in corrections, being a law enforcement officer, police officer, and seeing death and traumatic things and having to still perform, and block all of that out. I just was in jobs that helped me do what I had always been doing, which was to put up walls
Exactly.
and not really be myself. And I'm just so thankful that I don't carry the weight of that now.
that's good.
I don't carry the weight of an imposter.
Oh, that's a whole nother podcast. Because that's a good one. We don't have time for, but that we're gonna have to do this again probably.
Okay, my pleasure.
Oh, thank you. So, Joe, thank you again, babe. I appreciate it. I appreciate this. I appreciate you. I know that if just one person out there hears this and is blessed, it's all worth it. So I'm full right now. I'm full.
No, thank you. I thank you for having me on as a guest, valuing me and my story, but also what God has done in my life, in our lives, and how we represent Him now. Which is very important to the both of us. And so, just to be able to be examples,
Right.
good examples, good fruit, means the world to me.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you. And thank all of you for tuning in again. Dr. She Rich here. I'm the host of Surviving with She Rich. My wonderful special guest, Joe Richardson. Always showing that ring. I love
That's
it.
right. So do I.
So if you have not done so already, I encourage people all the time on my podcast, don't just, tiptoe around. Like if you're watching this and not only was it a blessing to you, but could be a blessing to someone else, make sure you share it. But But also subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you'll get the notifications anytime I release something. And again, I am intentional about releasing valuable content on this channel. So I don't want you to miss that. So click that subscribe button for me. Okay? Thank you again for tuning in. Be blessed. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Surviving with She Rich. If this content helped you, hit like, subscribe, and share. And remember to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Dr. She Rich 4.